Hi, welcome back to another creative vlog. Thank you for joining me. This week I am doing a little bit of a side quest in a way. In the last vlog, did a little mini collection, and that's kind of ready to go when I want to do a restock for a shop. And I'm currently designing my next collection, which is going to be a bit more involved, more silver, more complex. I am working on that, but in the meantime I want to make some little studs using these little flowers. I've already fired these, you'll see that in a minute of me firing those, because when I have a little bit of silver clay left over, I think I'd waste it, so I just use one of these moulds to create these little flowers, and I have loads of them because yes, I don't want to waste anything, so they get moulded. And those sort of been sitting there. That's what I'm doing this week. I don't think I've really said much about my history of jewellery making, but I started off with polymer clay. I think just before the pandemic. I just started my business just before the pandemic, and I was kind of like, my business was kind of like a bit of jewellery, a bit of card making, a bit of sewing, and then I really focused during the pandemic on jewellery making, and that was polymer clay. And I still really love polymer clay and use it quite a bit. But in the last couple of years I've explored like silversmithing and making silver, so I taught myself the very basics of some silversmithing, like cutting some metal, filing some metal and texturing. And then I did a level 1 very basic 14-week course on how to use metal clay and fine silver clay. So that's why I rely a lot on that, because I did a bit more of an in-depth course around metal clay, and I really loved that because it was kind of a natural transition from polymer clay, because a lot of the cutters were the same and like rolling out and some of the techniques were the same, so it kind of felt like a good transition. But over the last year I've been trying to expand my skills into more traditional silversmithing, so I did a shorter course. I think it was only 6 or 8 weeks, and that's more traditional silversmithing, making rings, soldering, that kind of thing. And since then I've been self-teaching myself some stuff, as well as going to one-to-one workshops with someone local, and she's taught me how to make bezels for stones, and last week soldering posts onto fine silver pieces. We did touch on that in the short course, but it was very brief and I didn't feel confident enough to do it for my business, because I make sure it's like very like solid and like high quality. So I did 3 hours of just soldering studs, so I'm a lot more confident how to do that. So that's what this is going to be, is like turning these into studs over the next few days, and then it's like a little extra project, or extra product I should say, not project, extra product in my online shop and also stores. Sort of more of an affordable piece. Like I think the slightly bigger ones are going to be around £10 and the very tiny ones around 8. I was hoping to go a little bit cheaper than that, but the price of silver is just not going to allow that. But I think it's still more of an affordable piece compared to some of my 36, 40 plus pieces. So and then again, nothing's going to waste because everything's getting used. So yeah, that's a little bit of history on my jewellery making journey, which I've not really said before. Yeah, so I'm sort of, my new collection, I want to put some of those new skills of bezel making and the studs and the soldering and the ring making into use as well. But I thought I'd start off with this as a sort of easy introduction and a good way to sort of just do a lot of soldering and really like practice all that. So yes, that's what I'm doing in this vlog, is making studs. I've already sanded and filed them, so you'll see that in a second. And then now I'm going to solder the posts on, so the pickle is warming up, and I'll get soldering. I'm going to change out this top because this is not good for safety and firing and soldering. But yeah, that's what this week's going to be, is stud making. So it's going to be fun. Hopefully it goes well, and I'll tumble them and make sure they're work hardened and ready to go for on my website and then to shops. So yeah, so hopefully it'll be a fun one. So these are all the flowers I have, which I've pressed into a mould that have been like offcuts of silver clay I've used for other projects, and that kind of built up, and I've decided I'm going to turn them into studs. Finish polishing these, but these are a couple of practice ones. Yes, I haven't finished polishing them, but I sort of had a few practice runs, so they're like just simple flower studs. I think they might be a good addition to the website if people just want a more simple piece or a slightly more affordable silver piece. So what I'm doing here is I'm not going to make all of these up because there's quite a lot, and there's an odd number on some of them, but just pick out the ones that look like they need the least amount of work. And then I'm just going to sand the back to make sure they are flat and ready for a stud, and maybe use some of the paste to build them up if they're a bit too thin or a bit cracked where it's dried and cracked a little bit. So what I'll do first is I'll pick out the best ones out of all of them, decide how many I want to make, and then I'll get to sanding before firing. And then it will be, I think I'll put the studs on first, then tumble them, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So yeah, that's what I'll do first, is pick out the best ones and sand. Okay, so I've decided to do 6 of this type. 6 of these. Woo! 6 of those. And for the smaller ones, just 1 pair of those, because that's all I had really. 2 of those. 2 of these ones. 6 of these. Yeah. So some of them will need like this one. The petals are quite well defined, so I won't need much sanding in between, just like the back really. Whereas one like this, the edges have like not come out as clean, so I just need to like sand between to really like define the petals a bit better. So I'm just going to go through all those and one by one and make them nice and crisp and ready for firing really. They're tumbled pretty well, but just where there's like more detailed like areas, they haven't quite polished as well as I'd like. So I'm just gonna go in and with this first, the finest one of these radial discs, and sort of get in there. And then once I've done that, I think I'll go and use this one, this head on my thing to give it a last little bit of a buff and tidy up, but hopefully that does the job. Hi, it's now Sunday the 8th, and over the last few days I've been working on soldering studs and some prep for my next collection. But over the next couple of days I'm going to pivot to shop prep, because kind of spur of the moment I felt like actually one of my shops could do with a restock. Like, it's not particularly low, but the sales are usually really good there, and they've dipped a bit over the last few weeks. I thought maybe actually just bring in some new stock, taking some old stock away, and just a bit of a refresh of that shop. So for the next 2 days I'm going to add chains to necklaces and prep them, add labels and all that, and pop over to the Braintree shop and restock there before I then, well not before, and then after that, once I've restocked, I'll go back to more collection prep. You would have seen me from polymer clay make some prototypes. So some are prototypes which are just kind of sit on my desk and remind me what I want to do and how things work. And some of them I will make into moulds. So I bought some moulding solution, like 2-part moulding solution seems like the wrong word, but that kind of thing. And use a polymer clay too that I've created. With the polymer clay pieces that I've already created and baked, I'll push it into this mould, and that then I can use for the fine silver. So that's what I'll be doing once I've finished this shop prep, is looking at the prototypes, deciding which ones I want to turn into moulds and which ones I actually want to do more work on and add a bit more, like, because some of them I baked because I want to add chains to them and see how they fall, make sure they don't have like end up lopsided at the end, or if the design kind of works before it's turned into silver and I've wasted silver. So that's what the next few days are looking like for me. What else? Oh, I just filmed literally 2 seconds ago a March Meet the Maker post. So that's what I've been doing this month. It's a social media kind of like challenge for the month. I've done it for the last 6 years, and every other day there's a prompt for a post. So some of them I do reels, some I do photos. But the one I just filmed, it was like one explaining what my jewellery is like. So if you want to follow along with my March Meet the Maker posts, they're over on Instagram. I'll try and remember to put the link in the description to my Instagram. But yeah, so I've been doing that as well, which I like doing because it kind of makes the social media of March a lot easier because it's kind of telling me what to post. So that's always really good fun, and it's kind of like helps engagement and people like each other's posts and comment each other's posts. So yeah, I really like doing that. So yeah, that's basically summing up the last few days and the next few days as well. And yeah, I'll probably film to the end of this week now and then wrap it up at the end of that week. So yeah, shop prep, that's what's next. Okay, so yesterday I went through my spreadsheets and I saw what I'd sold over the last few months. I don't have time to make anything new, so anything I didn't have I'm not going to take, but anything I've already got in stock I'm bringing with me to restock this time. And then the new collection that I showed a few the last video I think, I'm bringing one of each of that collection as well. So I've written it all down in a spreadsheet and I've printed it off, and I'll give that to the person who runs the shop. If it's too full I might cross off one or two if I don't end up leaving them, but I usually like leave what I think I'm going to leave. So yeah, the stock's planned and I've brought it all down from where I store it, and this is just really, as I take this with me on Wednesday, but also just to make sure that I'm bringing what I think I'm bringing, so I'll probably tick it off as I go. And then this is my to-do list. So I need to put labels on all the pieces. The necklaces need chains, because I think like I said before, I don't have chains on necklaces while they're stored, because it's just like a lot of chain to be pre-cut on necklaces that aren't being sold yet. So I need to put chains on necklaces. There's a few earrings that need to go on back in cards. The earrings that I sold the other day that you saw me do earlier in the video, I'm bringing 2 pairs of each type, so they need to go back in cards. And if I have time I want to write like a little about me card to go on my shelf, sort of like a picture of me and like what I do and what I make and stuff. So it's not a lot, but like the labels and the chains will take quite a long time, so I only have today and tomorrow. I should do it, and tomorrow I've got a few other things on, so I'm hoping to get most of it done today, but we'll see. I'm going to start with labels because they need printing out, and then I'll do the chains kind of at the same time. So when I hit a necklace that needs a chain, I'll put the label on and add the chain probably, but yeah, that's what's happening now. today I am using polymer clay to kind of experiment and make some designs. So for my next collection I want to do more complicated designs, more heavily based in silver rather than polymer clay. I've drawn some of them out, but because the nature of silver is very expensive, I don't want to make things without kind of giving them a test run first. So what I like to do is just like get some polymer clay and just play with it, try and recreate some of the designs and see how they look. Obviously it's not going to look the same as like silver, but like it kind of gives me an idea of like, does the style work, does it look pretty, does it have the potential to look nice in silver, which parts do I want to use metal clay for, and which parts do I want to use wire, what parts do I want to use as a silver, cut out in silver, from silver sheet. So yeah, it's kind of just doing that really. I'm just going to roll it out. I've got a bunch of cutters I think I might use to do with the theme. Because the theme I think I'm leaning towards is sort of gothic enchanted garden, so sort of like dark colours, like roses and like gothic shapes with like the whimsy and like playfulness of like garden themes. I don't know, stuff like that. I got carried away and I forgot to record, but so far with this one I've just made some holes and I'm going to add jump rings to those in a minute. I started sanding these ones down and I broke that one, so that's already out as a possibility. But I'll be adding some jump rings to the centre of those. This one I'm going to sand and make it less rough around the edges and then mould it. And then this, I've added a stud which isn't really the right size, but it's just really, so in a minute I'm going to hold it up to the mirror and see what it looks like, sort of like near my ear, and like, is it wide enough, is it too wide, is it curved enough, and just like more about the shape for the next iteration in the silver. Whereas these ones are more just like done, like the prototypes, and they just kind of give me a vague idea of like what I'm roughly aiming for, and just kind of like rough and ready. But I don't really want to do anything with those. So that's what I'm doing now, is like I'm going to add the sort of design features to make sure that they look nice and they fall right. I'm going to try them on, make sure they don't go skew if or are too chaotic or whatever. So I'm just going to have a little play and it's low stakes with the polymer clay, and yes, that's what's happening here. Right, I've had a good play with my prototypes and I'm still working on those, but I just accepted a last minute place at a market not tomorrow, but following Saturday, so a week tomorrow. So it's very last minute for me. I usually like to have at least 2 or 3 weeks minimum, but it's a good opportunity. So I'm switching gears for a minute and I'm gonna open up Procreate on my iPad and start planning a table setup for the weekend, what products I want where, at least roughly on my iPad, using Procreate and like some past photos. And then tomorrow I can do a practice setup, kind of using that as a guide to kind of like speed me along a bit so I'm not completely starting from scratch. Because from there I'll need to make sure that I have each piece labelled with a barcode, have price points for the actual table, and make sure the necklaces have chains, because I said several times that I don't store necklaces with chains, so they need to be put chains on for the market. That's the doorbell. I don't know where I got up to there because the doorbell went, but yes, chains for necklaces, labels, price points, yeah, that kind of thing. So I'm gonna just say, okay, I want to Procreate. I start planning that out now, so that's what I'm switching to for the time being, and that's where my focus will be for the rest of the week, is market prep. Okay, I'm still in my studio, craft area. I usually do my table setup downstairs in the lounge with the full table, and I am still going to do that. But I do find it takes the entire day. So what I thought I'd do today, since I do this in the afternoon, is just do some of the elements, and to see how they fit and if I like the layout on these pieces of equipment. And then tomorrow when I get the table up fully, I can kind of just like lift them and place them. I'm kind of like get a jump start on like tomorrow's setup, so then I'm really like getting ahead because I'm very conscious of the time. There is not a lot of time before the market next week, and I still don't know if there's how much labelling and chains and stuff needs doing. I am surrounded by boxes and bits because all my collections are sorted by collection in different boxes, so that's half of it as well, is like finding the pieces and then reboxing them ready for the market. So yeah, there's a lot to do, not a lot of time, but this is where I'm starting. It's kind of, I've roughly planned it on the iPad, as you already seen a second ago. I'm kind of going based on that and take it from there really. So yeah, that's what's happening here. I've printed out some price points for the table that some were missing. There's way too many here, but I always need price points. Sometimes I get damaged, I need replacements of different sizes, so I didn't want to waste any paper, so I just printed loads out, and I'll save them for future markets. And to me, the most common prices that I need to use. So yes, I'm just gonna use my guillotine cutter to hopefully quite neatly cut those out. Table setup's done. There's a few things that, like, I need to put these on, earrings on here obviously and stuff, and I need to put the labels out that I just cut off, and these ones which I knew haven't got the barcodes or the labelling, because I label them kind of like that, so they need labelling. These need chains. I don't tend to get these out because I know they're just like, they could go in there loose, and I know what that looks like. So that's it. So it's chains, making sure I've got a label, price labels like this, that I just cut up in the correct places, and then labelling the rest of them. So that's what I'm doing for the time being. mould out of this piece, which I made from polymer clay. But it's like not even, and then it's like some rough edges, and I want to make some of the details more prominent so it doesn't get lost in the mould. So I'm using this attachment on my Dremel tool type thing to smooth out some of the large areas, and then I might use, I haven't decided fully, but I think this one to get into some edges and make them more prominent details. But yeah, that's what I'm working on for the minute, and hopefully make it nice and neat, ready for moulding. So I use a range of these tips and a bit of doing it by hand sandpaper as well to really neaten up this butterfly, and I'm a lot happier with it. I might do a little bit more on this wing, but it's pretty much symmetrical now, and that's ready for going into a mould. Yeah, so it's pretty much ready to go back into a mould. I might go back into it a little bit more before I do the mould, because I feel like maybe that wing isn't quite even with that one, but it's pretty much getting there, so I'm going to leave it for now and think about it, but it's looking a lot better than it did. The next one I want to try and work on in terms of prototyping is this kind of like necklace. From polymer clay I kind of made like, it's not very nice looking because it's just meant to be a placeholder for like to help me understand the design, but it's meant to be like a stone that would be in a bezel. I'm going to get some wire that's not sterling silver, just some cheap wire, and have a play with the shape and how maybe these leaves will work, and just yeah, having a bit of a play with that. So that's what I'm going to do next, work that one out. This one, unfortunately, I think it's a bit of a fail. It works in my head but not in real life, because like the jump ring, I want to do like maybe 3 or 4 jump rings with like chains coming down. Again, picture here. But I don't know, like I feel like you need really big jump rings for it to work, in terms of like it being big enough to go through this hole. But then it's like if you want 3 and huge, it's not enough space. It's just not, I don't know, it's not, it worked nicely, it worked a bit in my head. I might try and see if there's a workaround. Like this will probably, like once it's in silver clay, it will shrink a little bit, not a lot but a little bit, so that could help, but I don't want to risk it at this stage. The one with the bigger hole failed because as soon as I started trying to like neaten it up, one of the petals fell out. So yeah, this earring, I mean that's not the right size stud. I might have talked about this one before. I think I'm happy with it. Might go slightly slimmer, so it's not quite as wide, but I like the style, like it's almost like a half hoop. But this one is what I'm going to do next. I'm just going to have a play with this and some wire and go from there really. I might use these petals as the leaves, since this is a write off now anyway, so it doesn't go completely to waste. So yes, that's what's next on the agenda. use this prototype for now. It's obviously really hard to tell because it's very rudimentary, it's polymer clay, it's wire, it's not what it's going to be like in the final one. I've had to glue it pieces, I've used a bit more wire to combine that and glue bits because obviously I can't solder on this. And it's going to give me a vibe of what it looks like, but I think I'm going to put it aside, let it dry fully. Then I'm going to put my mallet in, see how it falls, see whether I like it, and get more of an idea that way. But it kind of gives me a rough idea of what I'm hoping to achieve. But while that dries, I'm going back to this butterfly. And although I am going to use this as the mould, what I might do is with, again, just some of this cheap wire, try and create the design. So I done like a really rough polymer clay version of it, but this is like not quite what I'm going for. Like it's a bit bulky and rough, but I just want to get myself a rough design. I thought I might try and recreate it in some wire because I think wire is what I'd go with to make the final piece, I think. Or possibly find silver and then finish it with wire, but whatever, I'll try and see what I can make with the wire. But yes, that's what I'm going to do that next, and then kind of tackle this piece, which again is just a very rudimentary polymer clay piece to give myself an idea. I do really like this as a concept, sort of like the twisting of the vines with the leaves, but it's a case of do I make another version that's better and mould it, or do I make it by hand each time from fine silver, or do I use a combination of fine silver and wire? So yeah, I'll ponder that a bit more, but I'll do this one for now. So yeah, that's what I'm working on for the time being. Okay, so I've been playing around with lots of ideas, just having a bit of fun and working out. I mean, this is way too big, but it kind of gives me an idea of what I'm going for. This here is a broken flower that didn't work out, but gave me an idea for some like earrings to go this way or something. So I'm going to use this one, which is a spare, cut it in the same way because I think this one's going to be too fragile, and play around with that because I think that could be a fun earring idea. So yeah, I'm still kind of, as I might write this one off, I've sort of found a different thing to do. So yeah, I'm still playing around this one. It's so difficult because I kind of like the idea of it, but it's so hard to visualize this as like a finished silver piece, but I think this has potential. Same with this, like it has potential. It's just like, how do I do it? Do I do it with fine silver or sterling silver? But I think I'll have a play with this one because I'm quite excited about this idea. So I've got my polymer clay back out, and I want to do another version of this. This one is a very like rough last minute thing, but now I've broken it. But I liked how it looked when it wasn't broken, and so I think I might do a better version that could possibly be moulded. I think so. That's what I'm trying to do and like perfect that. I also want to cut out some more flowers because I've been experimenting with these sort of flower ones, and I might want to do some more playing around with that. So just cut a few of those out and play around. in a couple different sizes and slightly different shapes I want to play with. This is not done, but I want to bake it, and then I'm going to sort of cut around some of the flowers. I'm a bit worried that one's too big, but we'll see. And then there's some extra flowers here which I want to play with. These two things are meant to be bees, but I don't know how they're just going to turn out, but we'll see. And this is the necklace I want to mould. So I'll go over it with the sand and stuff. I did the butterfly and tidy some areas, but I'm a lot happier with this version, and actually that area needs a bit of smooshing down, but yeah, I'm happy how this turned out. So yeah, that's going to be baked and ready to go. Hi, thank you for joining me for another creative vlog. I'm wrapping it up here because I was just editing it and it's over an hour long already. They seem to be getting longer and longer, so I want to try and go back to being around 30-40 minutes, a bit more manageable. But yeah, it's a bit of a hectic one. Went from sort of making studs to prototyping to shop prep, market prep. Next week in the next vlog, I'm going to upload the studs that I made, and I'll talk a little bit more about those to the website, do some product photography, and finalise the prototypes I'm making for my next collection, decide which ones I'm going forward with, and hopefully start planning about actually making some of the pieces, which will be exciting. But as ever, you never know what's going to crop up suddenly. So you have one plan and then something else comes up and you have to kind of pivot. But for the moment, that's what the plan is for next week. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching another vlog, another long one, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye guys.